Tonight, the tragic mission to bring Shane Warne home. New details about the cricket great's shock death.
A shattered Sam Newman leads the chorus of tributes. Warne's statue turned into a shrine as his family officially accepts the offer of a state funeral.
A woman fighting for life in hospital after a falling tree tragedy at Flemington Racecourse.
Russian President Vladimir Putin issues a chilling warning to the West.
And trouble for Collingwood on the eve of the new season.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Rebecca Madden and Mike Amor.
Good evening. New details are emerging about the shock death of Shane Warne, with revelations the cricket great complained of chest pains in the days leading up to his fatal heart attack.
The sombre mission to bring Warne's body home to Melbourne is underway after his family formally accepted the Premier's office of a state funeral. Tegan Doling begins our coverage.
A tragic journey for answers as a sporting hero begins his return home. Shane Warne's body ferried to the Thai mainland in preparation for an autopsy. His friends eager to reunite the father of three to devastated family in Melbourne.
We really just want to get Shane home. Yeah. Thank you.
In Thailand, to holiday together, Warne's mates are now assisting a local coroner, trying to determine why the 52-year-old suffered a fatal heart attack. These photos inside Shane's holiday villa bedroom, his final moments. The blood on towels caused by desperate resuscitation attempts. His longtime manager also confirming the cricket legend complained of chest pains and sweats days before he flew overseas. And he had just completed a stringent 14-day juice cleanse.
He had asthma and had seen a doctor about his heart. He had experienced chest pains when he was back home in his country.
The Spin King had recently recovered from COVID, but his manager wasn't aware of any visits to a heart specialist.
There's got to be something good that comes out of a tragedy like this, and if there's one thing, it's to prevent other cases. Even if you are the fittest and you get symptoms, go and see your doctor.
It's hoped by Wednesday, Warnie's body will be back home in Melbourne, where his three children are grieving, with his parents, Bridget and Keith, seen leaving their Black Rock home today.
It's shock. I think they basically expect the door to open, the end of a bad dream, and Shane Warne to wander in, and give them a huge big hug. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But
Shane Warne to the rest of us, but dad to them.
Yeah, I mean, he was an extraordinary character.
At his statue, floral tributes continue to build, along with other Warnie symbols. Mourners sharing a beer and a bite as they rejoiced in memories.
If it wasn't for him turning cricket to what it was, I probably wouldn't be watching it.
It's something we'll never see again. I honestly believe that.
Going and play in the backyard, you always try to, idolise Shane Warne, and, it's just such a shock.
Probably a lesson to everyone to live like every day. Like no one would have seen this happening to him.
Still can't believe it today, even though I'm here now. Yeah, it's surreal.
Australia loves him. And we love him. We love him. I don't want us to say.
The Warne family has told the Premier they're accepting the offer of a state funeral, which is expected to be a star-studded affair.
It wouldn't want to be just dignitaries. I mean, he's not that sort of person. He was very much a man of the people, and I think he would definitely want a situation where everyone could go to it if they wanted to. So I think the MCG would be a marvellous idea.
We just want to make sure that he's given the most fitting send-off possible.
His former fiancée, Liz Hurley, took to social media to pay tribute. The pair together for 3 years, splitting in December 2013. "I feel like the sun has gone behind a cloud forever," she wrote on Instagram on Saturday. "Rest in peace, my beloved Lionheart." They'd lived in the UK, where the news of his death has also hit hard. Flowers laid at Lord's.
I know a lot of English would say that they wish Shane Warne was English. He changed the game worldwide, not just here or not just at home. In a game where we're so used to our heroes either bowling fast or batting, he made spin bowling sexy.
Got him! There it is! Wicket number 700!
And a 14-page spread in the Times.
Yeah, sort of Princess Diana stuff. It's sort of, it's Muhammad Ali stuff. It's just quite extraordinary.
Warn's sudden passing has reverberated around the world.
Cricket is in mourning today.
He was found in his villa in Thailand.
He could not be revived.
He's probably the best captain that Australia never had.
In Pakistan, following the second day of play, Marnus Labuschagne admits the Aussie team's still in disbelief, losing Rod Marsh one day, Warney the next.
It was a bit of a, surreal. Obviously everyone deals with it in different ways. Some people like to, be alone and to think about those sort of things, and some people like to talk about it and be able to sort of hash it out. And
arguably the Saints' most high-profile fan, his team led another tribute. Against Essendon at 7:08 p.m, a minute of reflection, marking Warney's 708 Test wickets.
Thank you, everyone. Vale Shane Warne.
What an icon he's been for cricket and Australia, but he's a great Saints man.
The Warne family has late this afternoon accepted the Premier's offer for a state funeral. We spoke to his managers just a short time ago. He believes they might actually have a private funeral first, because we know that Shane Warne's body is due back in Australia by mid next week. It would be incredibly fitting to be here at the MCG, but the footy season's just 10 days away. There is a bumper schedule here, so it may be put on hold for around 4 weeks. But guys, wherever it's going to have to be a very big venue. Almost every person we have spoken to down here today, they all want to come along.
Absolutely. Tegan Doling, thank you. Reporter Olivia Leeming is in Koh Samui, where police have completed the first part of the investigation into Shane Warne's death. Olivia, it's a painstaking mission for Australian and Thai authorities.
Well, it's an agonising wait for Shane Warne's family back in Australia. They wanted his body returned home as soon as possible, but the Thai police have insisted on an autopsy so that they can complete their investigation into his suspected heart attack. They still don't believe there was any foul play involved, but say they want a thorough understanding of exactly what happened. His remains have been today removed from Koh Samui Island and taken to Suratani on the mainland, where there are facilities to complete the post-mortem. We expect that will take place either today or tomorrow, and then a report will be sent to the embassy in Bangkok with his exact cause of death. It's still unclear when his body will be returned home to Australia, so the cricketing hero can be laid to rest.
Olivia Leeming reporting. Footy legend Sam Newman has spoken openly about his close friendship with Shane Warne. Sam says he'll never forget how supportive Shane was when Sam's wife died suddenly last year.
She was just made sure I was okay, wow.
Coming up a little later in 7 News, Sam shares his fondest memories and reveals the Shane Warne most people never knew.
A racegoer is fighting for life in hospital tonight after a falling tree tragedy at Flemington. 4 people were struck in the freak accident as brave witnesses rushed to free the victims.
A day at the races ends in mayhem after a falling tree crushed punters leaving Flemington.
Oh my God!
Tracy Griffiths and her partner James were just seconds away from being struck. Without any hesitation, the pair rushed to help trapped victims.
Bit of panic mode and rescue mode I went into because it sounded like a big explosion. Immediate thought was, let's go and help the people, whoever's trapped in there.
I suddenly heard this loud rustling of trees, turned my head and saw this huge branch 10 metres behind us falling onto people. I called 000 and was on the phone for about 8 minutes talking them through the scenario.
Scott Harty also witnessed the freak accident.
I thought it was the grandstand. It was just a really loud bang. We sort of started running like everyone else, and as we got closer we saw it was the tree. Thought it was pretty bad once we got a bit closer.
4 people were rushed to hospital. 1 woman remains in a critical condition. 3 others are serious but stable.
It really was quite frightening.
The VRC's thoughts are with those injured and their families. The focus of the Victorian Racing Club is providing any assistance we can to those affected.
The weather can be a factor because of the weight that the water has on the leaves on the tree. You know, it's extra weight. It might be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Witnesses have told 7 News the impact was so loud they thought it was a gunshot. An assessment of the tree has so far found no obvious signs of damage or decay, and it will be removed in the coming days.
Those that were under the branches, pedestrians effectively, they were literally crushed. It was quite frantic, just people rushing everywhere.
WorkSafe has confirmed it's launched an urgent investigation. Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Melbourne CBD is showing signs it's returning to life, with foot traffic in the Docklands office precinct almost doubling in the past week. Wednesday is the most popular day to head into the city, with commuter numbers on metro trains jumping to 50% of pre-pandemic levels. There's been a drop in daily COVID infections in Victoria now at just over 5,000. The number of people in hospital is also dropping down to 219. 4 more COVID patients have died.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued a chilling warning to the West that any attempt to enforce a no-fly zone will be seen as a declaration of war. Civilians trying to escape Ukraine have been forced back into bomb shelters after Russian troops opened fire.
Artillery shells smash into the besieged city of Mariupol, a city the Russians had promised a ceasefire. Sadly for 18-month-old Krill, it never came. Rushed into hospital, but they're unable to save him. Why, his mother cries. No one can provide an answer. Russia had agreed to a humanitarian corridor for Mariupol and Volnovakha to allow 200,000 to flee, but it was over before it began. Near Kyiv, we reached Bilocerka, hit at 9:30 this morning. The missile carved a crater in the street and ripped through every surrounding home.
They put their life to build this, and now it's destroyed in one moment.
This family home in ruins, the front room almost blasted through to the back. A child's bedroom somewhere under this debris. Next door, Irina Nestorenko was asleep when the world collapsed around her. She ran for her sister's daughter. Everywhere was glass, she said, in her hair, in her ears.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
She'd moved from the north to escape the conflict there.
Russian President Vladimir Putin keeps insisting that his military forces aren't deliberately targeting residential areas, and yet time and time again we get scenes like this. The missile came down in the middle of this suburban street and has taken out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7 homes here. Villagers astonished that no one was killed.
Ukraine's president has again pleaded for the West to enforce a no-fly zone to stop Russian missiles and jets. But Putin says that would be a declaration of war.
Any move in that direction will be seen by us as participation in the armed conflict.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited refugees on Ukraine's border. It's as far as Americans will go.
We're in this together. We will succeed together. Ukraine is going to prevail.
The Russian advance is slow but happening. Mariupol set to fall. Now Mykolaiv is under attack, and in the north, Russian troops have opened a new corridor from the east towards Kyiv. The ferocity of the fighting can be heard on this video, posted by a Ukrainian soldier. And here, unverified video of a Russian helicopter shot down, erupting into a fireball. Near Chernihiv in the north, soldiers cheer as a Russian jet is hit, the pilot captured. Small victories, but the Russian invasion grinds on.
Chris Reason is live in Kiev. And Chris, given President Putin's threats, a no-fly zone appears out of the question. What more can the West do to help?
Yeah, good evening, Michael. One radical plan under United States consideration is for Poland to hand over its fleet of ageing MiG-29 fighter jets here to Ukraine, while America sends over its spare F-16s to Poland to work as backfill. Ukraine desperately needs more planes in this war, and their pilots are trained to use those MiGs. But the West has funneled in millions of dollars in munitions and weapons into this country, but whether actually sending jet aircraft in might be a step too far for Vladimir Vladimir Putin. We wait and see. Meanwhile, the economic war continues. Visa and MasterCard both announcing today they're suspending operations in Russia, another massive blow to their economy, as they just get ready tomorrow for round 3 of peace talks now confirmed. Mike?
Chris Reason, stay safe. Thank you.
Australia is ramping up financial pressure on Vladimir Putin and his oligarchs. Superannuation funds are dumping hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Russian stocks, while the federal government has frozen an Australian bank account linked to the Kremlin.
Keeping a promise. The first plane load of Australian military aid to Ukraine is offloaded.
The aim is to defeat the Russian forces and have them turned back.
As the federal government tightens the screws on Vladimir Putin closer to home, freezing a $45 million Australian account owned by a sanctioned Russian bank.
Whether it's targeting the oligarchs or whether it's providing lethal aid through NATO, Labor supports that.
Australian superannuation funds have also begun dumping hundreds of millions of dollars of Russian stocks, while the New South Wales government will sell $75 million of Russian assets from its Generations Fund.
There's been incredible resolve about enacting the highest possible costs on Putin and his cronies.
Scott Morrison telling the Ukrainian president during a call last night the measures are designed to ensure Russia pays a high price for its illegal actions. President Zelensky said he deeply appreciated Australia's military and humanitarian assistance. Peter Dutton is hopeful China is taking note of the worldwide condemnation of Russia and the moves against it, making Beijing think twice about advancing on Taiwan. The Defence Minister not ruling out sending arms to the island or joining military action in its defence.
I think we do whatever we can to deter China from acts of aggression in our region,
including buying a fleet of nuclear-powered submarines. Discussions with AUKUS allies are ahead of schedule. Mr Dutton now predicting an announcement on which type will be bought within a couple of months. Rob Scott, 7 News.
Adelaide has been rocked by its biggest earthquake in a decade. The 3.8 magnitude tremor was felt as far as 100 kilometres away from the epicentre at Mount Barker. Thousands woke to their windows, shaking and rattling.
I was outside and just felt the rumble. It was quite intense, actually.
Doors shook and the windows shook. Lasted 5-6 seconds and then another little rumble afterwards.
The last 3.8 magnitude earthquake was recorded in Adelaide's south. Experts are now on high alert for any aftershocks. Well, it's been a rough day for the Magpies. Jackie Felgate, a blow on the eve of the season.
Yes, Halle Beck and Mike, injuries have crippled the side after a bruising clash with the Giants. But that wasn't their only concern, with the match review set to decide the fate of a star defender for round 1. Also an exclusive with footy's fittest man and his new training regime. The Aussie openers settle in against Pakistan, chasing a massive first innings total. And the Aussie who had a meltdown on the PGA Tour.
I feel his pain.
Indeed. Plenty more sport coming up.
See you soon.
Thanks,
Jack. Flood victims have lashed out at the New South Wales Premier. Up next, the desperate clean-up mission as locals brace for a dangerous 3-day deluge.
Also ahead, a shocking twist to a wild night in Noble Park.
How the Carlton Football Club is leading the charge to stop violence across Melbourne.
And later, a warning for parents to brace for major changes to bulk billing costs.
And is in a critical condition after he was hit by a car in a suspected domestic violence incident in Melbourne southeast. The 37-year-old was found lying on the ground in Noble Park shortly after midnight. Police say a 36-year-old woman was also assaulted following an altercation nearby. Detectives are hoping for dashcam video to help them figure out what sparked the alleged attack.
Flood victims have lashed out at the New South Wales Premier, claiming they're being neglected in their time of need. More dangerous storms and heavy rain are now tipped to batter the east coast for days.
There's no relief for the New South Wales flood zones. Already saturated communities in the northern rivers are being warned to brace for the last thing they need: more rain.
We are expecting to see storms produce large hail, damaging winds and intense rainfall. So for an area under recovery, that's not great news.
A severe thunderstorm warning is in place for Lismore tonight. Residents racing to clean up before the weather turns.
We know we've already
lost 29,000 books, and now we're going through the furniture and we've thrown out the carpets.
There's anger. Too little help has arrived too late.
Look at them, emptying out a trailer full of rubbish.
At nearby Korakai, locals told the Premier they've been neglected.
I know it's a logistical nightmare, but we've got one of the best armies in the world. Why couldn't we get stuff in?
Another downpour soaked the state overnight. Some areas received 60 millimetres in an hour. West of Sydney, SES volunteers were kept busy moving residents and livestock.
We've had to come back and perform 3 rescues, one for a bull, one for 3 kids and 2 adults, and then another one for 2 more adults.
Motorists also caught out by the flash flooding. Queensland continues cleaning up. Sea Shepherd volunteers helping to clear rubbish washed up on Moreton Island, northwest of Brisbane. The Queensland Government has launched a flood donation appeal.
Oh, it means so much. It means we can have, a new fridge, a new washing machine.
Funds will go to charities, including the Red Cross. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
The Carlton Football Club is leading the charge to stamp out violence against women. Community sporting groups across Victoria are now encouraged to use new guidelines to help end toxic locker room talk.
At least one Australian woman is killed by a partner or former partner every week. AFL stars are using their status to bring that figure down.
Left foot snap, well done Eddie Betts.
Teaming up with the state government to put an end to violence against women.
Training that will help everyone involved in the club to call out inappropriate behaviour.
The Carlton Footy Club is leading the charge. They've already rolled out a similar program, Carlton Respects, using educational seminars and games to prevent disrespect and sexism. It's been so successful, the government want community sporting clubs to do the same.
We know we have a place in breaking the bias.
It's also a way for us to be able to target all different people.
Guidelines have been published by La Trobe University researchers to help clubs introduce the new strategies.
Our work in prevention is really what's going to stop violence from occurring in the first place.
It's been trialled at 9 different community sporting groups Victoria-wide.
It can be the place where behaviours and attitudes can be formed for life.
The government will hand out up to $200,000 per club. Applications open tomorrow and close in April.
It's what's going to end violence against women long into the future.
Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
Volunteers have taken to the Brighton foreshore to tackle an increase in discarded face masks. More than 3 billion single-use masks are tossed out across the globe each day. Rescuers are also reporting a surge in wildlife found trapped and tangled in them. The efforts are part of Clean Up Australia Day.
Sonia Marinelli is here with a look ahead to the weather. And Sonia, you're tracking the end of these drizzling showers.
I certainly am, Mike, and the last of the humidity as well. That is on its way out now, and we'll all be feeling a much more refreshing airflow from tomorrow. So we had the last of the stickiness today, although it was cool. The city hitting a high of just 21.8. Showers overnight really topping up the rain gauges nicely, and we had another couple of millimetres scattered around the suburbs today. The city's average March rainfall is 50 millimetres, and we're already almost there. We've had 48.6 in just the first 6 days of this month. But most of the week ahead is dry. More details after sport. Beck, Mike.
So much, Sonia. Thank you. A sharp rise in online shopping is putting record strain on Melbourne ports. Details next on 7 News.
Also, a warning for parents with medical costs for children about to rise.
America's Midwest lashed by a deadly tornado.
And the Aussie city crowned the world's best at Wordle.
The Port of Melbourne is undergoing a multi-million-dollar upgrade to help keep up with Victoria's online shopping demands. A sharp rise of imported toys, exercise gear and appliances has put the port under record strain.
It's hard to find a quiet moment here, and Australia's biggest and busiest port is getting bigger and busier. A $50 million expansion to keep up with Victoria's shopping spree. Toy and sport imports are up more than 42% in a year. We're bringing in 41% more appliances, and there's a 32% jump in furniture imports, creating more congestion than the port has seen in a long time.
In recent months, we've seen sort of 6, 8, 10 vessels that could be waiting before they can come into berth.
The expansion will allow an extra 360,000 containers each year. The port already pulls in around $114 billion in trade.
The trade grew by 11% last year. We're expecting trade growth to normalise at somewhere between 3 and 4% for the years to come.
The upgrade here will remove a simple but old piece of construction. This decommissioned concrete block is to be removed, allowing the port in this area to accept much bigger container ships. Just 71 metres of extra space will allow 2 big container ships to berth end to end. You'll see new giant cranes appear soon.
They are remote operated from operators which are sitting 1.3 kilometres away from here.
But their efficient work is sometimes affected by worldwide supply chain problems. Shipping is not immune.
We have seen a trend of a lot of vessels arriving off schedule, a lot more so than what used to happen.
A giant game of Tetris by the sea. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Hundreds of truck drivers have parked just outside Washington, D.C. to protest coronavirus restrictions. They're calling themselves the People's Convoy, refusing to enter the city, instead choosing to surround it. Up to 1,000 drivers have joined the rolling protest since it left the East Coast a week ago.
6 people are dead, including 2 children, after a powerful tornado ripped through rural Iowa. The small town of Winterset was smashed and at least 4 people were injured. It is the start of tornado season in the United States, with large areas of the Midwest regularly experiencing severe storms.
Thousands of people have been evacuated after a giant wildfire tore through South Korea. The out-of-control blaze has destroyed nearly 200 properties. The fire also threatened a nearby nuclear power station, but fast-moving crews managed to stop it from spreading. There's a warning tonight for parents. Many GPs are no longer bulk billing children's appointments. Local clinics have taken a big financial hit after providing years of free telehealth and donning expensive PPE.
Altoona North GP Mukesh Haikawal says he can no longer afford to bulk bill his tiniest patients. He says it's one of the toughest decisions he's ever made.
It's something that is become a necessity.
From this week, he will charge children a $67 fee. Parents get around half back on Medicare, but many will struggle to afford to pay up front.
The children equation has been very hard because we want to make sure children are not disincentivised from coming to see us.
Dr Haikawal is not alone. Many GPs are struggling with costly PPE, free telehealth and vaccination consultations taking a financial toll.
50% of practice owners reported a concern about the long-term sustainability of their practice.
Dr Haikawal has also scrapped bulk billing for all patients on weekends to help his business survive. Even those on healthcare cards will have to pay the full fee, then claim the rebate.
This is really becoming a big crisis. We can see it coming.
Over the past decade, the Medicare rebate has only increased from $34.90 to $39.10.
You don't need to be an economist to realise that Medicare rebates haven't even come close to keeping up with inflation.
Doctors are calling for the federal government to review the Medicare fee structure, concerned the out-of-pocket costs will be unaffordable for some patients who may turn to emergency departments where treatment is free.
We need to fix these things before they become a problem and we start getting finger pointing after someone dies unnecessarily.
The Federal Health Minister says bulk billing is at record highs, with nearly 9 out of 10 visits to the GP free of charge.
I think some of that data might be skewed, a bit artificially inflated through COVID and the mandatory bulk billing that went on during that time.
Dr Haikawal says bulk billing is sending some GPs broke.
It's really tough out there, and we understand it's tough for our patients too.
Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
The Sydney Cricket Ground was a sea of colour as more than 5,000 revellers gathered for Mardi Gras. The event, now in its 44th year, featured performance from around the world. It's the second year the celebration was held at the SCG, but organisers have vowed to return to party to Oxford Street in 2023.
Canberra is home to the world's best Wordle players. Melbourne took out equal fourth spot with Perth on a global ranking, with Adelaide trailing just behind. Just 3 of the top 10 performing nations speak English as their main language, even though the game is in English. Sweden is home to the best players, followed by Switzerland and Poland. Australia ranked equal fourth with Belgium.
Sam Newman, like so many Victorians, is broken-hearted tonight. Up next, his emotional tribute to great mate Shane Warne.
Also, the fight to bring a Melbourne-born terrorist home to face justice.
And the Aussie beer making a splash at the Melbourne Fashion Festival.
Islamic State fighter Neil Prakash could soon be extradited to Australia to face terror charges, which could see him jailed for life. The federal government is appealing a 2018 decision by the Turkish courts to deny the return of the Melbourne-born terrorist. Prakash has been released from prison in Turkey and is currently being held in an immigration centre.
Shane Warne's death hit Sam Newman harder than most. Few people knew the king of spin quite like Sam. I sat down with him today as he paid tribute to a Melbourne legend, the likes of which we'll never see again. Like so many of us, Sam Newman is struggling to process the shock of Shane Warne's death.
We've lost a dear friend. He was just such a true, genuine person.
It's hard to talk about him in the past tense, isn't it?
As I say, it's surreal. On the day I learnt of his death, I was in bed and I heard the beep go on my phone, which was beside the bed, and I looked at it and it said Shane Warne found dead. I honestly actually thought I was dreaming.
Sam spoke with him the day he flew out to Thailand. They planned to look at purchasing a car Shane had his eye on when he got back.
It is amazing to think that we won't speak again. It's just beyond belief.
Sam says he'll never forget Shane's support after wife Amanda's sudden death last year.
He really cared about how I was going. Yeah, so he did.
Melbourne's odd couple, Sam and Shane, were dear friends and golfing buddies for the best part of 3 decades.
We would argue for 10 minutes about the handicaps we'd play off, because I'm not long out of being put into a facility. Shane has just come back from parring St Andrews in a Pro-Am event.
So he was good?
Good. Had only man to have a hole-in-one at the par 3 16th in Augusta, where the pin placement was on the top right-hand corner. The only person ever to have had a hole-in-one there. If they'd had the sport of cricket in America, he'd be as big as anyone on the planet. He was just the most competitive and driven man I've ever met, and that's why he turned out to be the star he is. Was. Isn't it hard to say that?
How will you remember Shane Warne?
The very people who no one imagines anything of do things that no one can imagine, and that was him.
Aussie beer Victoria Bitter has made a splash on the fashion runway. The brand found an unlikely partner in high-end Melbourne designer Stradius Carlucci. Together they developed a line of menswear modelled on a vintage VB can. The line is designed to take the new age man from the workplace, stop laughing, through to knock-off drinks.
It actually just seemed like a great fit for the brand. Hard-working guys from Brunswick worked their way up from their garage and found success in fashion.
The limited edition clothing debuted at Melbourne Fashion Festival last night.
Jackie Felgate is back with sport now. Jack, the Magpies felt plenty of pain today.
Yes, that's right, Beck. They'll be closely monitoring some key injuries ahead of round 1. The details are next. As Brodie Grundy gets floored while a star defender is under scrutiny for a high hit against the Giants. Something to get excited about from Roos fans as the top pick fires. The Aussie is putting up a fight. How David Warner is keeping his cool in the Pakistani heat. And the Aussie who lost his cool on the World Golf Tour. Welcome back. Collingwood is counting the cost of a mounting injury toll just 12 days out from their season opener against the Saints. It's not the only worry, with Braden Maynard in doubt for round one after getting reported in today's clash with the Giants.
A 7-goal defeat with a heavy cost. Braden Maynard to come under scrutiny from the match review officer for this late spoil on Daniel Lloyd.
And that undisciplined act won't go down well if he's rubbed out for round one.
Nathan Kruger's clash with Callan Ward left him with concussion.
Head on head. Oh, he's elected to bump there.
While promising Pies recruit Patrick Lipinski limped off the field with an ankle injury. So too defender Nathan Murphy, who came off in the third quarter. This tackle on Brodie Grundy keeping the star ruckman down.
And there was a fair bit of force behind that from the Bruce tackle.
Darcy Moore copped a 50-metre penalty under a strict new crackdown on time wasting.
He knew exactly what he was doing, and he had a moment there where he could have given it back.
Jordan De Goey marked his return to the field with a goal.
And the Pies fans here at Giant Stadium liking what they're seeing.
Nursing his ribs after the match, ready for round one. While Nick Dacos was a bright spark for the Pies with a team-high 31 disposals. Second-year forward Ollie Henry impressing with 3.
Just cruising into goal, and no mistake from Ollie Henry.
A 41-point win for the Giants, but it all didn't go to script for the skipper.
Oh, Cornelio's kick was a shocker. He was going for goal, fell 20 metres short.
The Pies left to lick their wounds ahead of the round one clash with St Kilda on March 18. Laura Spurway, 7 News.
The Saints have their own worries ahead of round one. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has more. Hello, Tom. You've got new details on a star defender's injury.
Jack, that's right. The Saints now face round one without Hunter Clark, Billings, Jones, Hanbury and Ryder. Now, Hunter Clark suffered a shoulder injury last night. The development say it does need surgery scheduled for Tuesday on his AC joint. He'll miss 6 to 8 weeks. A terrible blow. Hunter Clark is one of St Kilda's best young players. Billings also has a 4-week hamstring. Jack, one for Bombers fans tonight. Dylan Shearer's right for round one, I'm told today, despite not training on Thursday or playing last night. Meantime, Tim Taranto is hot property, out of contract. He's in demand from a host of clubs. I spoke with him one-on-one in Sydney.
Tim Taranto looks like he owns the streets of Bondi. Cold comfort for Victorian clubs chasing the star free agent.
I love the Giants. I can't see myself leaving. I prefer Sydney to Melbourne. The lifestyle, the beaches, the weather.
Taranto's form as a talking point. This summer, so are his fitness levels. This image going viral.
Oh, wow. That's probably why he's able to stand up in a tackle to him.
It's been doing the rounds, that photo, I guess. Not complaining. I guess it was just a lucky bit of lighting.
In footy, winter bodies are made in summer. And Taranto says it's all about diet.
You can exercise a lot, but if you're not eating well and drinking the right things, then you're probably not going to get where you want to go. I used to love pizza like once or twice a week before a main session, but now I just maybe like chicken and rice and veggies.
Speaking to Taranto, it's clear James Hird is already having a huge influence at GWS.
Obviously just his wisdom, obviously such an impressive player and person, more likely. He's just giving everyone his 2 cents on being a leader and I guess how to be a good person.
Hird's role at the Giants already extending beyond leadership. Based part-time in Bondi, the Essendon legend regularly helps at training too.
You can just tell he has this presence about him and people actually really listen to him and take him what he says because he's been there before. He knows how to win and how to get the most out of the team. So I'm grateful that we got him.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Number 1 draft pick Jason Horne-Francis showed off his huge potential. The Kangaroos' young gun booted back-to-back goals in the second quarter against the Swans in their final pre-season hit-out.
A free shot at goal. Jason Horne-Francis. The Hornet lands one off a step, and the North Melbourne fans pumped up about that one.
Indeed, Buddy Franklin was rested for Sydney, but he's in no doubt for round one, sitting on 995 goals. Fresh from a new 6-year deal, Isaac Heaney proved damaging in front of goal. It was a bruising encounter too in the AFLW.
Yeah, it's a big hit.
Oh, that's nasty.
That'll get looked at.
A brilliant snap from Chloe Malloy got the Magpies within 2 points against the rampaging Crows, but it wasn't enough as Adelaide held on to win. After a big week dealing with the severe floods and a change in venue, Brisbane produced a 36-point thumping of North Melbourne to remain in touch with the top 2. Usman Khawaja is leading Australia's run chase of Pakistan's massive total in the first test in Rawalpindi. Responding to Pakistan's declaration of 4 for 476, Australia is none for 138.
He bowled a bit of leg spin, but Marnus Labuschagne's brilliant run-out was for Shane Warne.
Oh, that's straight to him. That's out. That's going to be out. Labuschagne just pounced on that and threw the stumps down.
It's a very sad day, and we're obviously, as a team, you know, doing all right. But yeah, I think it's one that I don't think is going to really sink in yet.
Leading the chase of Pakistan's four declared for 476, Usman Khawaja.
Oh, that's a beautiful bouncer. That's the no-look hook shot for 4.
On 22, Khawaja was grassed at gully.
Edge and dropped.
Enjoying a bit of byplay with Pakistan's pacemen, Dave Warner, the bloke nicknamed Bull, taking plenty of blows, but replying with a full-on charm offensive and boundaries. Boasting a Bradman-like average of 108 against Pakistan. Improvising his way to a half-century, Khawaja's 50 featured 8 fours, all signs indicating triple figures, on course for a century in his country of birth. Warner's 33rd Test 50 just before lunch, Australia none for 138. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
Chas Mostert has taken the lead in the Supercards Championship. On a chaotic final day, last night's winner, reigning champion Shane Van Gisbergen, was never in contention after going off track early on. But Mostert held his nerve in heavy rain to take the checkered flag.
Obviously the weather helped a fair bit, but it makes it pretty hard to get rid of this blue hair now. Every time we do a crazy hair colour, we seem to go right.
He's 12 points in front of second-placed Anton De Pasquale in the title race. And Aussie Matt Jones had a meltdown at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, sending his putter flying into the lake.
Okay, Matt, a little frustrated there. Ooh, whoa. Did you hear what he said? He said, "I'm done. I've had enough with it." Oh, my gosh.
So he's out of the cot. The 41-year-old had to revert to using his sand wedge for the last 7 holes, finishing the round with 5 over 76. And something for Collingwood fans to look forward to. Nick Dacos, 31 disposals today. Very impressive. Son of a gun already.
Jason Horne-Francis goes pretty well for the North support
the next
as
gen
well.
looking good.
Well, thanks, Jack. Now, we can plan the week ahead with Sonia back with the forecast. And Son, what's ahead?
Oh, well, Mike, the drizzly showers have dried up, the humidity's out the door and there are milder days ahead. Stay with me. I'll have the details next. Hello there. Well, it's Sunday night. The drizzly showers have cleared out. The humidity is dropping away and we're holding on 20 degrees outside right now. Today, muggy and a little dreary. We hit a high of just 21.8 in the city. And most spots around town have dropped a couple of degrees this evening to around 19. We had lovely clear skies north of the Divide, but through the south, that cloud hung on for most of the day. Out of that, some drizzly showers, but southeasterly winds delivered the heaviest fall through Gippsland. There is a minor flood warning for the Snowy River. And it's been quite cool underneath the cloud right now. It is sitting on around 16 through the southwest and the southeast, to only 15 at Colac and in Bairnsdale. A weak cold front passes over Tasmania late tomorrow. That'll drag in more cloud on Tuesday. And then we're spending the rest of the week under the influence of a high pressure system and in a southerly airflow. So that's going to keep the humidity away. We could get a shower early in the week, but after that, the outlook turns dry from Wednesday and we will be enjoying some autumn sunshine. To our north now, eastern New South Wales will continue to be the focus of that intense rain over the next few days, thanks to a storm-bearing low hitting already flooded areas there. The harbour city could get another 60 millimetres of rain tomorrow and up to 120 on Tuesday. But there's only an early morning storm risk in Brisbane, while Canberra is cloudy but dry. It's calm, sunny Monday in Hobart. Adelaide's looking good, 25 and partly cloudy, and that summer heat is still holding on over in Perth. Back home, our week is starting warm and partly cloudy across northern Victoria, mild and mostly cloudy for parts of the south with isolated showers. Again, they're going to scatter over East Gippsland later in the day. Closer in, we can't rule out a light shower or two around Melbourne. If we do get one, it should be short and sharp. The risk increasing up in the northwest, so suburbs around Melton and Sunbury in the afternoon and evening. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies and an afternoon sea breeze will cap most of our maximums in the low 20s. Although tomorrow will be the warmest day of the working week in the city. From a low of 16 degrees, we should hit a high of 23. After that, we drop down to 21 on Tuesday under cloud. The chance for an early morning shower, but the rest of the day is dry. Then we have 3 days of 22-degree maximums with lots of sunshine, rising to 24 on Saturday, 27 on Sunday, and we'll all be sleeping a little easier this week thanks to a run of cooler nights. But this is what you need to know for tomorrow. In the city, a low of 16, a top of 23 degrees, mostly dry, but you might get caught under a brief shower. Otherwise, it's not really a bad start to a brand new week. Beck and Mike.
I'm glad to see the end of the humidity. Thanks.
I am too. It's all gone now.
Good to hear. And that 7 News will have updates throughout the night.
For now, from the 7 News team, good night.